talk for right now. We have to get rid of broken. The man wicked and lie, and just through money, and to sell we are.
10 years, you say. 10 long years and look how Jamaica stay. No light, no road, no food pan we plate. People are suffer while Andrew a live great. You stand up on the platform, smile wide and proud. I tell we about prosperity, but we can't see it all now. Hurricane come through, and left the people here.
How you doing, darling?
6 months later, them still out there, asleep under the air. Your JLP friends, them build high rise, road still full of wood. A whose pocket do I feel, while the nation lose its soul. Hospital overflow, picnic can't get bed. School roof a leak, but you and Juliet, well fed. You always have excuse, always pass the blame. Every time something wrong, it never go in your name. Jamaica a drown and you claim you're unclean. Biggest actor in a politics we ever see. Holness, time to go, time to go. The people, we say no. 10 years and we can't take no more, you know, hear us. We are not on the door. Holness, time to go, time to go. From Kingston to Level, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done really show. Holness, time to go. Farmer can't afford to plant food, price reach the sky. You bring in the poverty while your own people cry. We born you, we grow you, we bleed for this land. But Andrew at the top won't extend the man. You talk about vision, you talk about plan. But 10 years later we still can't understand. Corruption report London, nobody charge. The people pocket small but the scandal them large. Who's crack up parish council bro? Country suffocate done and it just smoke. And when we raise we voice so call we political. But the truth is the truth and the truth is biblical.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go, the people.
Let's say no.
We say no. 10 years and we can't take no more, you know hear us. We are not on the door.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. From Kingston to Negri, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness, our time to go. We no want no hype, we no want no speech.
No speed.
We want action, no, not the lies you preach.
Lies on
Hurricane victims still under tarpaulin. Prime Minister fly gone far. Rising higher and higher. From every parish, every yard, every gate. Jamaica speaking and I'm not too late.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. The people,
Let's say no.
we say no. 10 years and we can't take no more, you know hear us. We are not on the door.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. From Kingston to Negri, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness, our time to go. This one is for every Jamaican. We can't afford feet. We are sleep on cardboard. We are drive on broken road. The people don't forget. The people don't forgive. Enough is enough. Jamaicans will live. Ten years, you say. 10 long years and look how Jamaica stay. No light, no road, no food pan we plate. People are suffer while Andrew a live great. You stand up on the platform, smile wide and proud. I tell we about prosperity, but we can't see it all now. Hurricane come through and left the people here. 6 months later, them still out there, asleep under the air. Your JLP friends, them build high rise, road still full of wood. Whose pocket do I fill while the nation lose its soul? Hospital overflow.
Good to see you again, Andrew. Thanks for joining. Now, the Supreme Court.
But you and Juliet, well fed. You always have excuse, always pass the blame. Every time something wrong, it never go in your name. Jamaica a drown and you claim you're unclean. Biggest actor in a politics we ever see. Holness, time to go. Time to go. The people. We say no. 10 years and we can't take no more. You know hear us. We are not funny though. Holness, time to go. Time to go. From Kingston to Level, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness, our time to go. Farmer can't afford to plant food, price reach the sky. You bring in the poverty while your own people cry. We born you, we grow you, we bleed for this land. But Andrew at the top won't extend the man. You talk about vision, you talk about plan. But 10 years later we still can't understand. Corruption report London, nobody charge. The people pocket small but the scandal them large. Who's crack up parish council bro? Country suffocate done and it just more. And when we raise the voice you call we political. But the truth is the truth and the truth is biblical.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. The people,
Let's say no.
we say no. 10 years and we can't take no more. You know hear us. We are not funny though. Holness.
Like and share the live, guys. Please, thank
From
you.
Kingston to Negri, the people say
Thank
so.
you.
We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness, our time to go. We no want no hype, we no want no speech. We want action, no, not the lies you preach. Hurricane victims still under tarpaulin. Prime Minister fly gone foreign. Your JLP cabinet full, but the people come with empty. Oh, you live so large when we live in so scanty. Not with fists, not with fire, but with voice. Them rising higher and higher. From every parish, every yard, every gate. Jamaica speaking and I'm not too late.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. The people,
Let's say no.
we say no. 10 years and we can't take no more. You know hear us. We are not funny though.
Holness, time to go.
Time to go. From Kingston to Negri, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness, our time to go. This one is for every Jamaican. We can't afford feet. We are sleep on cardboard. We are drive on broken road. The people don't forget. The people don't forgive. Enough is enough. Jamaicans will live.
I want to say pleasant good night to everybody here on all the platforms, all my platforms on YouTube. I want to thank you so much for being here. I just want to ask you guys to please like and share the video. It helps for other persons that might not be awake right now. Later, when they get up, they can take a listen to this particular information that I will be going over. So, like I told you guys before on my previous trip, Jamaica, I got night sleep for the first time in my long life. I was supposed to come on, in the evening, but my body was exhausted. I feel different and I don't know like, understand, feel different, feel good, feel energized. When we go back to the time, I say, wow, I was really tired. My body was exhausted, but we are here. No, in terms of, somebody was even reaching out to me a while ago, talking about China and the United States. And, for all those persons that want to judge between America and China in terms of who Jamaica should favor, it's one thing I would have them consider. Which nation exalts Jesus Christ more? And therein lies the answer. The nation that exalts Jesus Christ more, that's the nation that Jamaica should be towards. Argument done. Talk about saying it without saying it. That is and you shall see the manifestation. And these are, you see, because we are not in the know, and we don't lean on, well, what is God's agenda? We want to figure things out with our finite mind, yes? And of course, you know, it's encoded in our DNA, but a wise man, a wise woman is going to look at that. Which country advances God's agenda more? Is it the Chinese, or is it, and I'm talking about in Jamaica specifically, which country would advance God's agenda more? The Chinese or the Americans? Think about that. And I'm talking about presently right now, because anything can shift. But I digress. That's for the person that was thinking about China and how much development them doing all of these things. It's not everyone that comes and bear gifts is your friend. Sometimes they have ulterior motives and they have tricks up their sleeves. But anyway, a recent court ruling came. The Supreme Court issues 2 major immigration rules, and this is important to the TCNs, right? In my opinion, we have to watch this. And I want to thank Calligrapher for sending me this clip. Let's listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
Court delivered 2 significant rulings on immigration this week that could reshape enforcement under the current administration. Let's break them down. First, on temporary protected status. What does this ruling mean for the hundreds of thousands of TPS holders, particularly from Haiti and Syria?
That's a great question, Stephanie, and thanks for having me today. What this order does is it clears the way for the Trump administration to terminate temporary protected status, not only for Syrians and Haitians, but for any number of the more than 10 nationalities that currently have that status. TPS allows those individuals to remain in the United States, even if they don't have green cards, even if they don't have legal status. And the government cannot remove them as long as they do have temporary protected status. One of the things that the Trump administration has been doing is going back and reviewing decades-old temporary protected status orders for nationals of countries such as Somalia, Sudan, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and is, rescinding many of them because most of the conditions that existed at the time that those temporary statuses were granted have been resolved, and those countries are safe for them to go back to. Now, this doesn't mean that the cases are over. The Supreme Court made clear that aliens who were subject to TPS can still make constitutional claims, but it also cleared the way for most of those constitutional claims to be resolved as well. So this is a big victory for the Trump administration, but even after TPS is rescinded, those individuals still have to go through deportation proceedings one by one and be removed from the United States if they don't have any right to remain there.
So this certainly applies to the folks who've chosen to stay all that time, but do TPS holders typically return to their home countries when conditions improve, or do most end up staying long term?
It's interesting because some of them get lawful status in the United States. Some of them opt to return home or to go to a third country. And unfortunately, some of them have been here for so long that they die. So we've actually seen the numbers come down by a couple 100,000 since TPS was originally announced for most of these countries. So, this is going to give the Trump administration the opportunity to make real progress in, clearing away some of those decades-old designations. But it also is a political issue. We're already hearing from some Democratic members of Congress, particularly in New England, who are claiming that removing all of those Haitians is going to have an impact on the healthcare industry up there. Apparently, a lot of Haitians are involved in healthcare in New England. So we'll see how the politics shakes out. But for right now, the law is good on the president's side.
And how does it shift the balance between the executive branch and the courts in immigration policy?
That's another great question, Stephanie, because the statute is clear, and this was actually the basis of the court's ruling. When Congress created temporary protected status back in 1990, it stated that no court shall have the ability to review a decision to designate or terminate a designation for TPS, but that hasn't stopped numerous courts particularly under Trump 1 and Trump 2, from blocking efforts by DHS to end temporary protected status. Those roadblocks are now out of the way. What Congress said is now what the law requires.
All right, now turning to the second case, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that federal law allows immigration officials to turn away asylum seekers at the border through metering policies. So in plain terms, what does this ruling mean for migrants seeking asylum?
So the Ninth Circuit has held that an individual who stands on the threshold of the United States, right at the borderline, but not crossing the borderline, is an individual who has arrived in the United States, and for that reason, DHS must allow them into the United States so that they can apply for asylum. This is actually a very quick decision from Justice Alito, writing for 5 of his fellow justices, and said, no, arrives in means actually enters the United States. They gave a number of examples of that. Metering was a process that was created under the Obama administration, where officers would stand right at the borderline and they would check people's documents to make sure that they did have proper documents. And if they were coming in to request asylum, they weren't completely turned away, but they were told to go to the, back to Mexico and wait their turn in line so that they could approach the ports. That metering policy, ironically enough, the Obama metering policy, has now been upheld, argued by the Trump administration, and approved by the Supreme Court.
And will this decision affect the way that applications are assessed for those that do legally apply for asylum?
It won't change the way that it won't change anything about the way that people who are here apply for asylum. But it reiterates, and this is important, Stephanie, it reiterates the idea that the United States has the authority to keep people out of the United States. If you remember, back in December of 2023, Texas put concertina wire along the banks of the Rio Grande to keep people from entering, and the Biden administration tore up the concertina wire, saying that those individuals, even if they're not in the United States, have the right to come into the United States to apply for asylum. The Supreme Court has dispositively said that's not true. The United States has the ability to secure its borders and keep out people, notwithstanding the very generous asylum laws of the United States.
And there's been some question about whether the ruling could push more migrants to cross the border illegally. What's your take on that?
Again, people are going to cross the border illegally if they want to. It's better for them to, seek asylum in the country in which they're in, Mexico. Mexico is already the 3rd largest asylum receiving country after the United States and Germany. And the Mexican government has the capability to provide for people who genuinely are refugees. Many people don't take advantage of that, Stephanie, because they want to come here because the economy's better in this country. That shouldn't be an option. But yes, people will cross illegally if that's what they desire. But in a related story, it turns out that CBP Director Rodney Scott announced that more than 21,000 Border Patrol agents have now been hired or are now on the line. And we've got about another 100 miles with the prospect of another 700 miles of border wall. So getting into the United States is going to be a lot more difficult. And the ports of entry waiting on the other side for your turn is probably going to be the only option for most people coming here to apply for asylum.
And as we finish up, do you expect to see many legal challenges to these 2 decisions from yesterday?
It's funny because when the Supreme Court speaks, the lower courts are supposed to listen. But one of the points that Justice Alito made, who also wrote the TPS case, was that, the Supreme Court had already signaled the lower courts with respect to TPS, how it should handle these cases, and that it really doesn't have much jurisdiction. Those courts didn't listen, and so the justices had to bring down the gavel of justice on those lower courts. Hopefully they fall in line. Hopefully they listen to what the Supreme Court says, but there's no guarantee of that.
Watching it all closely, really appreciate your time and your expertise. Andrew Arthur, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Stephanie.
So, you guys see, good night again. You guys see, Trump, the administration is very, very serious about removing as much persons out of the United States as possible that they deem, shouldn't be there for whatever reason. They're not born there, not from there, don't come seek asylum. The courts agree with him. You heard it. What this means for TC, saw a story in the paper, ladies and gentlemen, I saw a story of some guys in the United States, some Jamaicans that got caught. And I'm telling you, it's not reverse. You understand? Here's the story. 5 Jamaicans charged in big US sweepstakes fraud scheme. You understand? And you see Carly coming to Jamaica, and you see the harsh or the very firm position that she's taking on certain things. Whether TCNs are here already, I think it further enhances the point of Jamaica has its own issues. Why would we why would we even consider taking on these nationals? They said that there's none of them here yet. You see, let me read the article and read fast, guys.
eGleaner Classifieds mobile apps. Sign in, subscribe now. 5 Jamaicans are among 6 people indicted in the United States, U.S., over an alleged multi-million-dollar sweepstakes fraud scheme that prosecutors say primarily targeted elderly Americans across the country. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Connecticut, the accused are Andre John Gale, 33, of Fort Lauderdale, Florida; Aaliyah Main, 25, of Dania, Florida; Onid Shevers, 29, of Dania, Florida; Matthew Hutchinson, 24, of Williamsburg, Virginia; and Courtney Reynolds, 31, of Miami, Florida. All 5 are Jamaican citizens. The 6th accused, Rashawn Thompson, 24, of Fort Lauderdale, is a U.S. citizen. Federal prosecutors allege that, in 2022, the group operated a fraudulent publishers clearinghouse sweepstakes scheme that defrauded primarily elderly victims of millions of dollars. Investigators say the defendants and others purchased lists containing the names of elderly individuals across the U.S., including Connecticut, and falsely informed them they had won millions of dollars in a publishers clearinghouse sweepstakes. Victims were allegedly told they first had to pay taxes or processing fees before claiming their prizes, and were instructed to send cash, checks, and money orders to members of the conspiracy. The indictment also alleges that some victims were manipulated into participating in a so-called sponsor program, where they unknowingly forwarded money to other victims and members of the fraud ring after being falsely told the funds came from previous sweepstakes winners. Authorities further claim that victims surrendered driver's licenses, banking details, and other personal information that were used to make unauthorized purchases. Prosecutors also allege that Social Security benefits belonging to victims were diverted into green dot accounts controlled by members of the scheme. A federal grand jury in New Haven returned the indictment on June 2nd, charging all 6 defendants with conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, 5 counts of mail, 4 counts of wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Each offense carries a maximum prison sentence of 20 years. Main, Shevers, and Reynolds were arrested on June 4th, Thompson on June 5th, Hutchinson on June 9th, and Gale on June 10th. Gale, Hutchinson, Reynolds, and Thompson appeared before a federal court in Bridgeport on Friday, where they pleaded not guilty and were released on $250,000 US bonds. Main and Shevers remain in custody. As alleged, this was an organized sweepstakes scam that ruthlessly preyed upon the vulnerability of our elderly citizens to defraud them out of millions of dollars, said U.S. Attorney David X. Sullivan. He also cautioned the public that legitimate sweepstakes winners are never required to pay upfront fees or taxes to receive prizes. The case is being investigated by the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Division and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, with assistance from several other law enforcement agencies. The U.S. Attorney's Office, in the meantime, is emphasizing that the indictment contains allegations only and that all 6 defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court.
Either way, this is not good for for Jamaica, these types of situations, in terms of our reputation, you understand? Well, I tell you, when it rains, it pours Jamaica. But, you know, I saw something very positive. You guys remember Nature Job, right? And this is what I mean when I said Jamaica government, when it comes to energy problems that we have here, and also, you know, simultaneously protecting the environment. Let me play this way. This is incredible. This is incredible.
Humanity, we have done it. Take a look at this. This is the world's first solar trailer with solar panels on the top, solar panels on the side that click out with hydraulics. And what is this going to power? The world's first mobile, solar, continuous, microwave, pyrolysis, reactor, Mark V, baby. That's right here. We are making it happen, ideas into reality. Just a few months ago, in December, this was a sketch. And now it is before us. And thanks to all of my friends, Teasy for the people, Freddie, S. Everybody that's made it out to Woodstock, Melton Meadow, Anthony, Coe, everybody, all the family. We are making this happen. And guys, I'm telling you, before you know it, you're going to see this on the road. The first mobile reactor. This is a non-profit effort. We do this 100% through donations and sponsors. Go to jabinnovations.org to become a part of this mission. But I'm serious, guys. We're going to be pulling in 13,400 watts of solar every hour, 100 kilowatt hours of batteries from big battery that we're going to sit amongst here, hydraulics that will lift this up and down. All of the solar panels were sponsored by Santan Solar. They have given us all 24. We're going to throw 8 more on the top and 8 more on the other side. This thing is going crazy. What do you guys think about this thing? Just standing beside it like it's here. This is it. Come on, we doing it. We are doing it. It's no joke. This is reality. Like, this trailer is 12 and a half foot tall. Legit. Man, hold this camera. Let's get this reference. Like this. Let's get this reference shot of how tall this is. Man.
Crazy.
This is an album cover right here, man. Like, who has nobody has a trailer like this in the world. I have the biggest solar trailer in America. The biggest one. Hop along. But yeah, seriously, like, it's crazy. These solar panels, they're friction fit in right now. They're not bolted down. So when we bolt them down, they're going to be even stronger all the way through. It's a blessing. I want to thank everybody that's made it possible up to this point. We're not done. We still got so much more to do. But just to see it in reality right here is so motivating, because we do so much background work that we don't throw online, that we don't show. And I just want to say I love and appreciate every one of you that donate, every one of you that watch, every one of you that like, everyone that comes out to this build site, takes time, spends gas to get out here. And I'm not able to reimburse them yet until the thing is done. But guess what? It's about to be done. We're going to finish up the other side, guys. Thank you so much. Mark V is here for the world, for the people, and go to jabinnovations.org to donate to my nonprofit to make this a reality.
So this right here, for those who don't know, this is Nature Job. Nature Job, J-A-B. You guys can go look him up. He made a machine that turns plastic into oil. And what he's doing, he's making a mobile truck that's solar powered to drive around all around areas. So imagine you got this, and you got an area areas that are heavily polluted. Imagine you got several trucks like this in a country that all it does is go around and collect plastic. Those same plastics that it collects is giving the truck fuel. You can do it like that. I don't know if that's how the design is, or solar power powers the vehicle to collect the plastic plastic and turn it into fuel. This is genius. Talk about actually cleaning the environment. This is actually genius, ladies and gentlemen. Alright? This is a huge project. I mean, look at the solar. I showed you guys. He said it's 12 foot some high. It's ridiculous. The panels are like 12 foot some high. And it can fold out like this. You understand? Big ass truck, long ass truck. It's gonna have the hydraulics on it. Of course, you know, as an inventor or conceptualizer, right? And I won't say he created it, but through the help of God, it was, you know, the conceptualization of it and how to do it was revealed. But this dude right here, man, from the very first time that I saw his work, it was over with. You can't tell me that the governments of the world truly are about what they say they are about. Because a young man like this, an invention like this, if they were about really making things cleaner in the earth and making things better, he would be reached out to already. Hey, what's up, Doreen? Vassal, big up yourself, good night. I did subscribe, thank you. Laura, how you doing, Laura? Yes, so this is major, ladies and gentlemen. This is major. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. Shout out to Major Job. Now, should I go to Mr. Yeah, let me do that. There's my Mackenzie first shot at it. This is interesting. This Mackenzie defends local government record. That's funny.
Mackenzie is hitting back at councillors and other local representatives who have been critical of the government's approach to drain cleaning and road repairs. Speaking at the handing over of the Cleanup and Restoration Initiative grants in St. James on Friday, Minister Mackenzie says some of the comments being made are politically motivated.
Roughly every month, the local authorities, whether they are a PNP or a GLP controlled local authorities, get an amount. We get around 600 or 700 million on a monthly basis from the Ministry of Finance, which is shared up, not by me as the minister, but it is done on the number of roads in each parish. So when they tell you that they don't have money to fix roads, not true.
He also stressed that the local authorities also generate their own revenue to improve service delivery throughout the municipalities island-wide.
Last year alone, the local authorities in Jamaica approved over 64.5 billion Jamaican dollars of plans. That was the revenue that went in.
Imagine being able to build anything. Just,
you know, when Desmond Mackenzie talk, I cannot take him seriously, because I remember him saying that JUTC for the first time made a profit. That was one of the biggest lies too. JUTC has never made a profit. So I cannot take him seriously. I can't take him seriously, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I cannot. There's no way. Nothing that he says, you know what I mean? But let's go here. Let's go here, guys. And we have to go to the nurses.
And a special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com as well as TVJ.
And why am I saying no distraction? Well, if you notice all the stories where the Jamaica Labour Party is coming out, right? one scandal after the next, and it's like when Vibes Cartel put out a song, and the song hot, and then put out the next song, and then they get distracted from that song. This is how the Jamaica Labour Party is putting out. Well, they're not putting it out, but the way how corruption is coming out, where they and mismanagement and bad governance is concerned, where their government is concerned, that is how it appears. It appears as if one scandal is replacing the next scandal, and then we move away from a scandal and not give it enough attention that it should get. Well, let's listen to this because we're not going to allow that to happen. The TCN, too much uncertainties about it. I'm going to leave it alone, and we're going to refocus on our healthcare system, and we're going to refocus on Andrew Wheatley, Andrew Holness, and Xavier May. All the people that were recommended to be charged or should have been charged. You understand? Andrew Holness should have been charged, right? And who is still under investigation and should remove themselves from office, do the right thing. It's never too late to do the right thing, all right? And do the right thing. Yes, we're going to focus on those things, ladies and gentlemen, all right? So let's get into it.
International in the Cayman Islands.
First up this evening, frustration is boiling over at the University Hospital of the West Indies.
Nurses say overcrowding, insufficient beds, and resource constraints are some of the measures that are creating an unsustainable working environment.
They staged a sick-out on Tuesday in protest. Ramada Lyons reports.
Sick of it. The sentiment that fueled a sick-out at the University Hospital of the West Indies Tuesday morning. An unsafe work environment, overcrowding, a lack of resources. Some of the issues nurses want scrubbed from the healthcare sector. This was the new emergency room, and it was operation set to the record straight.
This is not about the money. So I don't want this to be twisted. This is about patient care. And the manner in which we have to be working is nothing near safe.
This is what's limiting safety.
We have no beds. We have to be medicating without medication. We have patients on the floor at this.
How do you medicate without medication, Jamaica? Christopher Tufton, how do you medicate without medication? What, they are supposed to make water into medication, like how they make water into wine? How do you do that? These are very critical issues that is happening right now. Your health is your wealth, and if that is the case, Jamaica is poor. Jamaica is extremely povertized. That's our where the healthcare system is. So we are calling on the resignation of Christopher Tufton as well. Christopher Tufton, Andrew Wheatley, Andrew Holness, and Xavier May, and Joe Darrell Vaz in that too.
Working is nothing near safe.
This is what's limiting safety.
We have no beds. We have to be medicating without medication. We have patients on the floor at this time. This cannot be acceptable.
Another says patient care isn't just about resources, but also the bodies on the ground at any given time to use said resources.
So if you have one nurse to 20 patients, some of those patients are going to be left behind. That's the truth. That's the hard truth. So one nurse can do so much and no more. So we want spaces on the ward and functioning beds on the ward that can take the patients from us at A&E.
On the list of what's lacking,
an ECG machine, needles, syringes, medications. We have to have patients there that need emergency medications and we cannot administer them because they are not available. Or some of us would walk to the wards to see if we could get them. We have patients to get blood and we have to walk the whole hospital just to source one blood line.
Just also the bodies on the ground at any given time to use said resources.
So if you have one nurse to 20 patients, some of those patients are going to be left behind.
One nurse to 20 patients, ladies and gentlemen. The nurses are being asked to do the impossible. Multiple people are going to be left behind. So if you don't have a bad case, and the nurse should prioritize somebody that has a worse case, by by the time the nurse gets the time to come home back to you, then you're probably going to be in a similar position as that other person. Right?
That's the truth. That's the hard truth. So one nurse can do so much and no more. So we want spaces on the ward and functioning beds on the ward that can take the patients from us at A&E.
On the list of what's lacking,
An ECG machine, needles, syringes, medications. We have to have patients there that need emergency medications.
Needles, syringes, these are basic stuff in Jamaica. Basic stuff. How on God's green earth is Christopher Govt still a minister of health. How? Makes sense then call him the minister of death. Because all of these conditions are going to promote death. Period.
And we cannot admit. We have the ward that can take the patients from us at A&E.
on the list of what's lacking,
An ECG machine, needles, syringes, medications. We have to have patients there that need emergency medications and we cannot administer them because they are not available. Or some of us would walk to the wards to see if we could get them. We have patients to get blood and we have to walk the whole hospital just to source one blood line.
Patients need blood and they have to walk the entire hospital to source one blood line. Wow.
This month, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett spoke to the need for a properly functioning healthcare system.
Every time a visitor arrives in Jamaica healthy and leaves healthy, we have strengthened our brand. Every time a visitor encounters poor health standards, we have damaged our brand.
However, this nurse detailed several incidents where local patients were jeopardized just yesterday.
The place was so packed. I have a patient, an elderly 88-year-old patient with a right hip fracture. She was sitting in a wheelchair. I had a lady who came in from ectopic pregnancy. She was in a wheelchair. I had another patient who had diabetes and she was in what we call diabetic ketoacidosis. I had to put in what we call a urinary catheter. I had to put she in a wheelchair. I had to put the lady up her leg on the counter and one foot to the other side and a two nurse to put in the urinary catheter. That is impossible.
We are expected to be functioning as octopus and we're expected to be giving.
They are expected to be functioning as octopus. Jesus. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Wow.
On the counter and one foot to the other side and a two nurse to put in the urinary catheter. That is impossible.
We are expected to be functioning as octopus and we're expected to be giving total patient care in an emergency setting. This is the only emergency room that has a ward assigned to it.
It is not just a yesterday issue, it's a chronic issue here. We have been dealing with it and we have been trying to make blood out of stone and it's not, we just cannot do it anymore. We are fed up, we are tired, we are overstimulated, we are overworked.
Now, the Nurses Association of Jamaica says there's a continuous blame game on nurses when things go sideways.
I am awaiting further information from the university nurses, but I am told this morning that the morning shift did not release the night shift. And it's a gentle protest in relation to certain working conditions and the staff-patient ratio.
Romarda Lyons, TVJ News.
So you're here with all of the issues that Wagwan Queen can do, with all of the issues that are there, they're finding a way for doing the system. How cowardly by the administration. All these issues that you know what Christopher Govt has not done yet? Fired one of the Manchester boys. That's what he has not done yet. Fitzgerald Mitchell that refused to come to the PAC meeting. These are the things we need to focus on.
This is me on day one since my son
In the meantime, opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, says he's been privy to internal memos that have been sent by nurses. He says they have also been requesting meetings to address issues affecting their duties.
This comes as no surprise because the nurses and the doctors have been reaching out to various levels of management, even I understand as far as the Prime Minister, to intervene in what is now an untenable leadership crisis at the University Hospital of the West Indies. This situation, it's almost as if the nurses are at a breaking point, the doctors are at a breaking point, and there is a call for a change in the leadership of the University Hospital. The time for blockades and tying out the staff by saying that you're going to look at review committees' findings and so on, that's far gone.
And then here comes the response of Christopher Tufton.
For the midday news for Friday, June 26, I'm Carrie Simpson. A special welcome to our viewers on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com. Here's what we have in the bulletin.
Oh, by the way, there is 2 situations that happen with nurses. Oh my God. Oh my God. Where's the one with the interns? There's one with the interns, you know. But let me hear what Christopher Tufton said about it.
JMDA welcomes swift action on intern concerns. Malvern Park residents at breaking point over sewage situation. And later in sports, the 2026 FIFA World Cup continues today with 6 matches across groups G, H, and I. Thank you for joining us. Now the details. Up first this afternoon, the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, JMDA, says it is encouraged by Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton's response to concerns raised by medical interns over long hours, staff shortages, and inadequate rest facilities. Some interns withdrew their services on Wednesday in protest, prompting the Health Minister to order immediate action, including audits of internal accommodation across the regional health authorities, and the University Hospital of the West Indies. Now, the JMDA says it has been invited to participate in one of the audits and that normal operations have now resumed. First, Vice President of the Association, Dr. Jubilee Brown, described the minister's response as a step in the right direction.
Think big.
A step in the right direction, and then a month later, we are faced with the same problem. But let's continue.
Jamaica and Guyana could soon deepen cooperation.
Clergy decree hospitals suffering. So one of the newest articles, this was June 28th, 19 hours ago, right? So we are realizing the clergymen never come out from out here. I wonder if, you know what, I'm going to say that, I'm left that alone. I can read the article and read this article. Let's read.
eGleaner Classifieds mobile apps. Western Bureau. Declaring that many of our people are dying because of a lack of medical attention, Reverend Glendon Powell, the chairman of the St. James Ministers Fraternal, is taking Jamaica's public healthcare system to task over what he considers its various failures. Powell was particularly harsh about the situation at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, pointing to lengthy wait times, shortages of doctors and nurses, overcrowded facilities, and inadequate ambulance services. Discover more. Shipping news updates. Powell was particularly harsh about the situation at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, pointing to lengthy wait times, shortages of doctors and nurses, overcrowded facilities, and inadequate ambulance services. Powell, who was addressing a press conference last Wednesday, said members of the clergy across St. James are increasingly hearing complaints from residents frustrated with the level of care being delivered by the public health system. We hear the cries of the people every day. Many are suffering unnecessarily. People go to the hospital seeking relief and instead encounter greater pain, frustration, and uncertainty, said Powell, noting that a close relative of his recently had a bad experience while seeking health care. Today, I would have been in mourning if I did not take a proactive action. I went to the hospital from 20 minutes to 9 with my niece with a very critical situation, and when she went there, it was not dealt with as an emergency, said Powell. I stood there from 20 minutes to 9 until 2:20 a.m. when I got up and went to the desk to talk to the lady about the matter. I said, "Tell me, when will I get through?" She said, "Sir, not until about 6 a.m., Doc."
So the clergyman come out because it directly affect him. So you see me tell me, say this a lot in Jamaica. You see me and others like me on this platform that not necessarily, we are not facing these issues. And we have come out and we have raised our voices in concert on behalf of the ones that probably don't have a platform to like this, to raise the issue, to make it a better situation for them, and to raise awareness and hold the government accountable, just like what Andrew has said that people are supposed to do. It's not that I am going to the hospital, praises to the Most High, that is not the case. You understand what I'm saying? God is keeping me, I've said it many times. It's not that I'm doing anything special, it's just the mercy of God. And I thank the Lord for such mercies that I don't have to go to these hospitals here in Jamaica. For a very, very long time that has been the case. So I thank God for that. I don't even want to be in a fight with anybody. So I avoid people. Because I mean, I understand. So God cover me when I go on the road as accident always fatal. And even if you get one bad injury going at these hospitals, they might come out worse when most of the time they will come out worse. And it's not because the nurse them don't know the money. It's not because the doctor them don't know the money. You understand? Each case is different. The system itself is not being given the tools necessary to work effectively. Whether it be enough nurses and doctors or equipment or whatever the case might be. That's why people have to wait from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning before they get you. You hear what the man say right there, so? The man say, yo, today I would have been in mourning if I did not take proactive action. That means his family member would have died. And this is a clergyman. So if he's having this experience, can you imagine how many other persons are having similar experience? It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen, but it's happening.
I had to make an executive decision with her husband to let us bring her home, let her get some rest, and get her on the plane the next morning, continued Powell. By the time she reached Florida, 7 doctors were around her. She went into the ICU, intensive care unit. Today, my niece is alive and well. Powell also questioned the level of emergency medical resources available in St. James as it relates to ambulances. There are only 2 ambulances I understand that are working in St.
So Jamaica, the clergyman could afford to send his daughter to Florida, and as soon as she reached there, 7 doctors were around her. And now she's good. Why is Christopher Tufton still the and this is the person that they're talking about, the PSOJ is talking about that they want to replace Andrew Holness. The devil is a liar. The devil is a liar. He's a worse, he's better and lessen performance. We cannot go 10 steps backward and have this what of done as a prime minister. Crazy. That's a good question, Claudia. Will he reach out to other pastors to fight? Well, you know, he doesn't need to reach out to other pastors. The fact that it came in the newspaper, that is big, and that is why I am highlighting it. That's why I'm highlighting it. This is madness. The man had to send his niece to Florida to get real care. Suppose he was a person that couldn't afford it. Dog, give him supper or her supper. The man said he would have been in mourning if he did not make an executive decision. I don't know if you guys think about that. Wow.
In St. James right now, and all the different places are calling the 2 ambulances. So when they tell you that we will come soon, it may be tomorrow morning, he said. We have a shortage of nurses, and we have shortage of doctors. We have doctors in our congregation, nurses in our congregation. We can't see them sometimes. Sometimes all 3 days consecutively they are at work. How can people work with such a tired mind dealing with people? It is ridiculous, he said. Immediate past chairman of the fraternal, Reverend Davwin Thomas, said the members of the clergy recognized the significant investments being made in the health sector, but maintained that serious challenges remain. We recognize the efforts which are being put into the healthcare system. For example, the National Health Fund, NCHEF, and many poor Jamaicans, and even middle-class ones have benefited from the NCHEF. Coupled with that, I think there is a high level of competency with our doctors and nurses. We recognize the tremendous efforts which are being put in to make Cornwall Regional Hospital a place that we all can be proud of. However, Thomas said lengthy waiting periods continue to cause hardship for patients. A hospital is a place where we go to relieve our suffering. It's very hard to go there and to encounter greater suffering, he said. We see elderly people who have served this country for years, and they are sitting on chairs for 3 consecutive nights, and sometimes when they get weary, they just lay on the floor. Thomas also raised questions about whether Jamaica's free healthcare model is financially sustainable, suggesting policymakers examine possible alternatives, including modest user fees or greater utilization of health insurance coverage. Secretary of the fraternity, Reverend Godfrey Francis, said the leadership of the various denominations and faith-based ministries are constantly confronted by stories of hardship from residents seeking medical care. We get these cries every day as ministers. We face it every day. Every day, people are crying, and we see the suffering, and we hear it. We are saying people must not be able to say, "I don't want to go to that place," he said. The St. James Ministers Fraternal is a prominent Christian fellowship and advocacy group based in Montego Bay. It functions as a network of pastors and church leaders from various denominations who come together to promote unity and address social issues.
So, well, they are in St. James, so you hear what they said a while ago. It's a network of pastors and churches from various denominations who come together to promote unity and address social issues. So I guess these clergymen, they are advocacy group, you understand? So this is what they do. Is somebody calling me or whatever? So my call is for Christopher Tufton resignation. No apology, I'm still calling for that. It's absolutely insane what is going on, right? Now, let's us go to Andrew Wheatley and Andrew Holness and the Jamaica Labour Parties. Their war against the IC. Yes? Let's go to that. Let us go to that. Because I think a lot of people need to be reminded of what Mr. Panton said. Where is it? Am I right?
And of course, to make his opening remarks. This is meant
overseas. It's something that had been rescheduled because of an earlier date that had been agreed for this meeting. And when our meeting date was changed, she had to reschedule for yesterday, where she was going. And she's returning today, but not in time for us to have her here. I want to introduce the members of the commission who are present, the other members. Mr. Justice Hibbert, Mr. Eric Crawford, and Mr. Wayne Powell, sitting the other directors. Now, before introducing the report which we have already sent, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that the commissioners have noted over the past couple of years that remarks have been made.
Hi, Empress Norma, how you doing now? The first person to type on Bolo TV. Thank you so much for being here, my darling, God as well. And big up all of the silent watcher them seeing me. All of you that hit the like, thank you guys so much, I appreciate it. Let's continue.
That the commission is partisan, and that the commission, that there is malice in its operations. I'd just like to point out that the persons who made those statements know that it is not true. They know that we know it is not true. And they know that Jamaicans know that it is not true. There's a situation where 70% of the persons on the voters list do not vote. And it is startling that it could be suggested that the 5 commissioners happen to be partisan. So we reject that. In terms of our performance over the years, we have on record from no one higher than the Prime Minister that in 2020 he commended the Commission in our Anti-Corruption Day celebration. He said, under the leadership of Chairman the Honourable Mr. Justice Seymour Panton, the Commission continues to distinguish itself, operating without fear or favour in pursuit of a just and corruption-free society. That was 2020. In 2022, he said that the Commission has done an outstanding job in increasing awareness and understanding of the anti-corruption framework. And as recently as December last year, he said, I am therefore pleased to note its work to expand public sensitization programs and improve investigative performance and technical proficiency, all of which represent a comprehensive approach to addressing corruption. I also commend the Commission's efforts to strengthen awareness and compliance, as well as its dedication to improving responsiveness, etc., etc. So let's move.
Immediate divine intervention. We're tired of the labor rights. We're tired of the green people. We are so far. We can't take it no more. We need it. We need it. Help. Help. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Psalm 40. God is our refuge and strength. Is a liberator.
Continues to distinguish itself, operating without fear. He commended the Commission in our Anti-Corruption Day celebration. He said, under the leadership of Chairman the Honourable Mr. Justice Seymour Panton, the Commission continues to distinguish itself, operating without fear or favour in pursuit of a just and corruption-free society. That was 2020. In 2022, he said that the Commission has done an outstanding job in increasing awareness and understanding of the anti-corruption framework. And as recently as December last year, he said, I am therefore pleased to note its work to expand public sensitization programs and improve investigative performance and technical proficiency, all of which represent a comprehensive approach to addressing corruption. I also commend the Commission's efforts to strengthen awareness and compliance, as well as its dedication to improving responsiveness, etc., etc. So I just want, although I know that Jamaicans on the outside know that those statements made in this hall by parliamentarians are not true, although they know that, the words here go international. So for the record, I wanted to put on there what none other than the Prime Minister has said in relation to the work of the Commission. And I hope that puts to rest the question of partisanship and malice. As regards some other statements made in this room about giving orders, the Commission takes orders from no one other than the court, and it needs to be the Commission takes orders from no one other than the court. Of course, there is God-given orders which we all obey. And I hope, Mr. Chairman, that persons who were making those statements, that they will desist. Because
that's right.
It fuels, such statements fuel a sort of mood among sycophants. And in the kind of society in which we live, we need to understand that persons should be very careful of what they say. There was a member of parliament who was actually, Mr. Chairman, sent out a document with the photographs of 4 of us saying that we are bringing down the government. Now, in this climate, for a member of parliament to be doing that, it's reprehensible. And I have not heard any parliamentarian condemn it. And they're sending out, their parliamentarians sending out WhatsApp notes of all sorts of reprehensible things. And I hope that somebody will take the leadership to correct them. We on the Commission, we are committed to doing what the legislation permits us to do. That is what is happening. And it is not fair for the employees to be set in a stage where they can be set upon. So I trust.
Who is the employees? Who is the employees? The Integrity Commission is the employees of the government. The government is the one that wrote the rules for the employees to follow it. So it's unfair to the employees to be attacked by the same employer for doing their job. And that's what we're seeing happening by the Holness administration.
That folks will realize that the reports that we send from the Integrity Commission, they are reports of facts. There are factual statements in the reports. Of course, there are recommendations attached to the reports which the law allows. The law says that the Director of Investigation may make recommendations. The recommendations that are made, the Parliament need not follow them. In fact, Parliament in Jamaica has a history of recommendations being made by people who make reports, Commission of Inquiry, and the recommendations are ignored. So we understand that, and we should not really have a situation where we are being pilloried for doing what the legislation allows. Now, in relation to this annual report, Mr. Chairman, it was dispatched to the Parliament in late June. The letter that I signed sending it is dated the 24th of June. And I did notice that no sooner than the annual report left the offices of the Integrity Commission, no sooner than it left the offices, the public broadcast of it before it was tabled. And I noticed that it happened also with another report that was sent subsequently, and another report that was sent last week. No, if it is thought that anyone in the commission is leaking these reports, we would like it brought to our attention, we would like it investigated, because anybody in the commission who leaks, if it's an employee, instant dismissal. But I find it strange that that all these things would be leaked immediately after it leaves the commission and sent to Parliament. I find it puzzling to understand if it is happening from the commission.
I find it puzzling as well, and I believe it's happening from the government. I believe, and the radio station that it was leaked is Oceanwide, a direct JLP radio station. So that was about Andrew Holness statutory declaration, and the portion that was leaked was so misleading. It gave the impression that, you know, it's some old bank accounts and it's just like maybe $1 million or something like that. I remember at our press was like, so they want us to believe that it's only this. When we read the report, ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, we saw the agenda, we saw the chess moves. Because you see, what this government banks on is the fact that you guys, and I'm not talking about everybody that's watching me right now, I'm talking recap people here. They don't read, especially labor right them don't read. Enough of them don't read. Them not looking at the report, them just want to hear Oceanwide say, oh, you know what I'm saying? I just them bank account and rate and what that alone the bank. We didn't know, man, we didn't know. And that alone the government, and that alone the IC are trying to $1 million or something dollar and some old bank account they never know trouble and that and that. So that's why them put it out. If you get the people in that tons mindset and shoot the people and give them a narrative for all and pan. No one behold when they read the report. Mighty God, they're talking about charity organization and use money for investment on one bag of slang, so all type of atrocities. Calling on you doing, calling below yourself. Top of the morning to you.
Why is it that it is delayed? The leak is delayed until it is sent away from the office. I cast no aspersions, but I want to add a personal note, Mr. Chairman, if you'll allow me, that back on this question of malice, I have been a lay preacher in the Methodist Church for decades. Malice is not in my makeup, and it is not in the makeup of the commissioners. And there may be persons who need to repent, and they can join me at church, Providence Methodist, any Sunday. I don't know if something is wrong with the water in Parliament, why some people, the moment they get into Parliament, they say certain things and behave a certain way. I don't know if that is it. As a result, I decided that I wasn't going to take the chance of drinking any water here. Another feature, Mr. Chair.
Yo, Mr. Every time you hear Mr. Julian Robinson laugh, I Angela here do it. Every time you hear Julian Robinson laugh, you do laugh. You want to like Santa Claus and hurry in general.
Which I'm very serious about, is that because of what has been happening, I personally intend to see if I can meet with Senator Longmore, Doctor, to have a word with her, because it may well be that she needs to have a word with some members of the House. They
need psychiatric evaluation, ladies and gentlemen. some of the members of the Jamaica Labour Party need psychiatric evaluation. He didn't say it, but he said it without saying it. Something wrong with them brain.
So I present to you, Mr. Chairman, the 6th annual report.
So, I'm going to see what I'm going to do that. Alright? Let's see what I'm going to do that. So, there was some attack on the IC. Of course, General have to come and defend the situation. But somebody said, there's something, ladies and gentlemen. Alright? Here, Andrew Holness said, you have all confidence in a doctor. Well, this document that I have here, alright, in the Supreme Court of Judiciary Civil Division, claim number SU 2020 CB02416, between Dr. Andrew Wheatley and the Integrity Commission. This was 2020. Jamaica, I never knew that Andrew Wheatley, Anna Brown, how are you doing? Good night. I never knew that Andrew Wheatley carried the Integrity Commission to court in 2020. Did you guys know this? Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
And 54(5) of the Integrity Commission Act between Dr. Andrew Wheatley claimant and Integrity Commission respondent. In chambers, Mr. Joaquima Cameron and Mrs. Carolyn Reed Cameron, QC, for the applicant. Mrs. Jacqueline Samuels Brown, QC, Mr. Lorenzo Eccleston for the respondent. Heard on July 31st, 2020 application for leave to apply for judicial review, whether recommendations are amenable to judicial review, administrative orders quorum, George J. Extent and context of the application.
That's up, freedom.
1. This is an application for leave to apply for judicial review, which was initiated by the filing of a notice of application for court orders on the 7th day of July 2020. This application is supported by an affidavit of the applicant filed on the same.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an actual court case between Andrew Wheatley and the Integrity Commission from 2020. I'll say that again. This is an actual court case between Andrew Wheatley and the Integrity Commission in 2020. How the hell can Andrew Holness tell us that either he's... When did Andrew Holness say him search far and wide and he don't know if anybody being investigated by the Integrity Commission? When did he say that, guys? Somebody commented in the comment section. When did Andrew Holness say to us that he search far and wide and there is nobody he know of in a free government that is being investigated by the Integrity? And granted, I think it was Andrew Wheatley a part of his government at that point in time. When did the Petrojam scandal happen? Let me Google that real quick. Petrojam scandal with Andrew Wheatley. Exactly, Merle, you understand? So, Holness headache, Petrojam, July 1st, 2020. Alright, so it's around the same time. It's around the same time. The situation was in 2020. So he carried the Integrity Commission to court. Yes, let's continue.
2. Date. The applicant has sought leave to apply for judicial review on 2 general grounds, which are as follows. A. B. 2. To review the lawfulness and fairness of the conclusions about the applicant and recommendations of the respondent made on or around October 2019 in the Integrity Commission's Special Report of Investigation conducted into certain allegations. And To review the decision of the respondent to recommend that the applicant be prosecuted for perjury. The respondent is opposed to the application and has accordingly filed 2 affidavits in response to the applicant's affidavit. These affidavits were filed on the July 24th, 2020 and the July 30th, 2020 and were sworn to by Sachin Raitchin, the chief investigator in the investigation division of the respondent. 4. The applicant's contention is that by virtue of the conclusions, recommendations, and findings of the respondent's director of investigations, the applicant's reputation has been brought into disrepute and he is now facing the possibility of a criminal prosecution as a result of the perverse and irrational conclusions made by the director of investigation. Consequent on this, the applicant avers that where a report calls a person's reputation into question in a direct way, both that person and the public generally have an interest in ensuring that any criticism is made upon a proper legal basis. It would be contrary to the public interest if the courts were not prepared to protect the right to reputation in such a context. The respondent's resistance to the application for judicial review is founded on the view that the application is premature given that the recommendation of the Director of Investigation has not been acted upon. In any event, it is advanced that even if the recommendation to refer the applicant in relation to a possible charge of perjury is acted upon and criminal proceedings are instituted against the 3. Applicant. The applicant's grouse can be sufficiently addressed in those proceedings. Background to the proceedings. 5, 6, 7, 8. The applicant was at the material time the Minister of Science, Energy, and Technology of Jamaica. Petrojam Limited fell under the purview of this ministry. Sometime in or around May 2018, there were allegations of concerning acts of impropriety and or irregularity, conflict of interest, corruption, nepotism, cronyism, and favoritism at Petrojam Limited. See Report of Integrity Commission, page 4. As a result of this, an investigation was instituted by the respondent through its Director of Investigation. The findings of that investigation are contained in report dated October 2019. The applicant is displeased with a number of the conclusions arrived at by the respondent's Director of Investigation, and as such instituted these proceedings seeking judicial review of those conclusions. Law and Analysis 9, Section 6, 3A of the Integrity Commission Act provides that in the exercise of its powers and performance of its functions under this Act, the Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority other than the court by way of judicial review.
You guys remember when Mr. Pantan said that the Integrity Commission does not take any orders from anybody but the court? See there at this Section 6.3. In the exercise of its powers and performance, it is the function under this Act. The Commission shall not be subjected to direction or control of any other person or authority other than the court by way of judicial review. Let me take a screenshot of that. Anytime the labor come tell them nothing, my side, remember Section 6.3a, that proves what Mr. Pantan said is accurate. It was not something that was arrogance. The Integrity Commission under the law doesn't take any orders from the government, only the court by judicial review. Let's continue. Teachable moments.
10. By Rule 56 of the Civil Procedure Rules, judicial review is available to any person, group, or body which has sufficient interest in the subject matter of the application. See Rule 56.2(1). This includes any person who has been adversely affected by the decision, which is the subject of the application. Rule 56.22a. Cases such as Council of Civil Service Unions and Others v. Minister for the Civil Service, 1984, 3 All ER 93519, explores the issue of sufficient interest. The court need not be detained by questions of whether the applicant has sufficient interest or 4. Whether or not he should be considered to have the requisite locus standi, as there is no dispute in this regard between the applicant and the respondent. The respondent takes no issue with whether the applicant has locus standi, being a person who has sufficient interest in the subject matter of this application or, as claimed by him, to be adversely affected by a decision, which is the subject of this application. Para. 20 respondents' written submissions. Arguable ground with a realistic prospect of success. 11. It being accepted that the applicant is a suitable person to seek judicial review. The consideration for the court is whether he has shown an arguable ground with a realistic prospect of success. Before undertaking such a determination, it is of some utility to set out in full the orders which the applicant intends to pursue should leave for judicial review be granted. The applicant has sought to challenge not only the conclusions arrived at by the respondent, but also recommendations made by it. Specifically, the applicant has sought the following. 1. A. B. To review the lawfulness and fairness of conclusions about the applicant and recommendations of the respondent made on or around October 2019 in the Integrity Commission's Special Report of Investigation conducted into certain allegations. In particular, conclusions that Dr. Wheatley was less than truthful and dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation when he described Sophia Deere as his former technical assistant. Dr. Wheatley's representation that he divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer was insincere. The suggestion that strategic placement of certain individuals in key positions at Petrojam Limited served as a corruption enabling mechanism.
So, the Integrity Commission report stated that Wheatley was less than truthful and dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation. So from them time, them have him down as this dishonest person. So what Andrew Wheatley think him going to achieve by carrying the Integrity Commission report again? Because as far as me get to understand, which me go read through all of the documents there now, me get to understand, say, him lose the case here. Very interesting. I want to hear all of it. We're here for it this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Like and share the video. Right? Dr. Wheatley was less than truthful. Dr. Wheatley represented that he divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer was insincere. Dr. Wheatley was less than truthful and dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation when he described Sophia Deere as his former technical assistant. Hey, yeah, no. Let's continue, Jamaica. This is not normal.
Mechanism. 5. C. D. E. F. G. H. 2. An order of mandamus requiring the Director of Investigation to recommend to the Commission to publicly exonerate Dr. Andrew Wheatley of allegations concerning acts of impropriety and nepotism.
What can go so?
An order of certiorari quashing adverse conclusions, recommendations, and findings made against the applicant that were not grounded in fact nor law. A declaration that the adverse findings and recommendations and criticisms made of the applicant in the report were invalid to the extent that they were founded on invalid findings of fact. A declaration that where a commission calls a person's reputation into question in a direct way, any criticism which is made must be made upon a proper legal basis. A declaration that where a commission makes a finding in the exercise of an investigative jurisdiction, the Commission must base its decision upon evidence that has some probative value. A declaration that the applicant had a legitimate expectation that the respondent would have conducted the investigation in a manner which achieves transparency, accountability, and fairness. To review the decision of the respondent to recommend that the applicant be prosecuted for perjury and, in particular, the applicant will seek the following administrative orders. A. An order of certiorari to quash the decision of the Director of Investigations to refer the issue of the representations made by the applicant concerning Ms. Sophia Deere to the Director of Corruption Prosecution. 6. B. an order of mandamus compelling the Director of Investigation to recommend to the Commission to publicly exonerate the applicant of the offense of perjury that he was accused of. C. A declaration that the Director of Investigation has not established through the evidence presented that there are reasonable grounds for suspecting that the applicant made a false statement when he stated that Ms. Deere was his former technical assistant. D. A declaration that the statement made by the applicant to wit, that Ms. Deere was his former technical assistant, was truthful as evidenced by the employment contract of Sophia Deere dated March 15, 2020. E. A declaration that the decision of the respondent to refer the report to the Director of Corruption Prosecution was ultra vires and irrational. 12. As stated earlier, the court's first consideration must be whether the applicant has satisfied the threshold, which must be attained before leave is granted. The Privy Council, in its decision in Sharma v. Antoine and others, 2006, UKPC 57, explained the threshold thus. The ordinary rule is that the court will refuse leave to claim judicial review unless satisfied that there is an arguable ground for judicial review having a realistic prospect of success, and not subject to a discretionary bar such as delay or an alternative remedy. 13. It is the respondent's submission that the applicant has not disclosed any arguable ground with a reasonable prospect for success on an application for judicial review. They premise this on a central proposition that the recommendations in the report were not decisions and therefore not subject to judicial review. The applicants contend that an alleged error of law made by a commission of investigation in its report, which materially affects a matter of substance relating to a finding, is in general reviewable by court proceedings. The reason for exercising that power of review is stronger where that error damages. 7. The reputation of any person directly concerned in the investigation. Para 26. They also contend that the nature of the recommendations and findings were such that, in the circumstances, made them amenable to judicial review. The applicant is required in the context of this particular application to show that the findings and recommendations in the report are reviewable. If they are not reviewable, then clearly, he will not satisfy this court that he has an arguable ground with a reasonable prospect of success. 14. In relation to the contention of the respondent, the court in Dale Austin v. the Solicitor General of Jamaica and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Justice, 2018, JMSC Civ. 1 is authority for contrary position. In this case, it was confirmed that some recommendations are susceptible to judicial review. Based on the dicta in that authority, it is evident that whether a recommendation is amenable to judicial review is dependent on the type of recommendation and its status in the decision-making process. Thus, in Dale Austin v. the Solicitor General and Aner, the court undertook a distinguishing exercise between the circumstances in that case and those which existed in the case of Deborah Patrick Gardner v. Mendez and another, 2016, JMSC Civ. 121. The court found that the recommendation in the latter case was subject to judicial review as it had great weight and significance because it will be followed unless there is some unusual development. Thus, in a sense, the recommendation in that context is tantamount to the decision. Clearly, therefore, although no final decision is made, if the circumstances surrounding a recommendation are such that it will inevitably be followed as it would be tantamount to a decision, then such a recommendation is equivalent to a decision and hence may be judicially reviewed. Sykes J.A., as he was then, agreed with Mr. Foster QC's submission that in the present case the recommendation from the Solicitor General did not affect any rights of Mr. Austin. It was some distance away from, and therefore not proximate enough to any final decision that may have been made. This stands in sharp contrast with Mrs. Patrick Gardner, who stood to be separated from her job based on the recommendation, which would be the final decision unless it was deflected. 8. 15 of importance as well is the case of Office of Utilities Regulation v. Contractor General. In this...
So what I'm sure right now are similar cases, right, and how them come by making a decision to grant a judicial review. That's what they're showing right here, so, which is very important to know, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
This decision reliance was placed on the view of authors Auburn, Moffitt, and Charland in the text Judicial Review and principles that the courts regularly entertain claims for judicial review of matters that do not directly affect an individual or alter an individual's legal rights or obligations, such as policies and guidance. They also entertained claims for judicial review of non-binding recommendations and advice, and of reports that determine the facts of a matter, but which do not have direct legal consequence. The court, whilst not rejecting this position, was of the view that in each of the cases where judicial review was permitted some practical consequence, which negatively altered the rights of the applicant flowed from the recommendation or guidance which was challenged. It therefore follows from all of the above that 1. Recommendations are reviewable in certain circumstances, such as where the decision will very likely be followed, as, for example, where it is merely rubber stamped, and 2, where there is a breach of a legitimate expectation or some negative alteration of the rights of the applicant as a result of the recommendations being challenged. 16. Thus, given the totality of the foregoing, it would appear that the consideration of the court ought to be whether the recommendations/conclusions or findings can be considered to be tantamount to decisions, and 2, whether findings of the respondent have negatively affected the rights of the applicant or has breached some legitimate expectation. It is with these considerations in mind that the court has to assess whether this is an appropriate case for the granting of leave to apply for judicial review. 17. A relevant backdrop to this process is the quote below by the learned Monget L.J. and Honorable Shirley Tyndall, O.J., and others v. Honorable Justice Boyd Carey, Reddit, and others claim number 2010 HCV 00474. In applying the principle postulated in Sharma, Supra, Her Ladyship stated that it is to be noted that an arguable ground with a realistic prospect of success is not the same thing as an arguable ground with a good prospect of success. The ground must not be fanciful or frivolous. A ground. 9. With a real prospect of success is not the same thing as a ground with a real likelihood of success. The court is not required to go into the matter in great depth, though it must ensure that there are grounds and evidence that exhibit this real prospect of success. 18. This is an appropriate juncture to state that this court's consideration will be centered around whether the orders of mandamus and certiorari, which are being sought, have a realistic prospect of success. The court will not undertake an assessment in respect of the declarations which the applicant intends to seek. This approach is consistent with that taken in Office of Utilities Regulation v. Contractor General, Supra, where it was considered whether an applicant needed to seek leave to apply for the administrative order of a declaration. In referencing an earlier decision of the Supreme Court in Audrey Bernard Kilbourne v. the Board of Management of Malden Primary School, 2015, James C. Civ 170, it was held at paragraphs 86 to 90 as follows. 86. There is no need for leave to be applied for in respect of public law declarations. I go further. Not only is there no need, there is no basis on which the court can properly consider the question of leave in relation to declarations. 19. Rule 56.3a indicates that certiorari is granted for quashing unlawful acts. Meanwhile, by virtue of Rule 56.3c, an order of mandamus requires the performance of a public duty, including a duty to make a decision or determination. Proceeding on the premise of the foregoing, the issue to be resolved by the court is whether, in respect of the orders of mandamus and certiorari, the applicant has an arguable ground with a realistic prospect of success. An order of mandamus requiring the Director of Investigation to recommend to the Commission to publicly exonerate Dr. Andrew Wheatley of allegations concerning acts of impropriety and nepotism. 10. An order of certiorari quashing adverse conclusions, recommendations, and findings made against the applicant that were not grounded in fact nor law. 20. The applicant has grounded its pursuit of these orders on the basis that the respondent was unfair and acted unlawfully when it concluded that A. Dr. Wheatley was less than truthful and was dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation when he described Sophia Deere as his former technical assistant. B. Dr. Wheatley's representation that he divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer was insincere. C. The suggestion that the strategic placement of certain individuals in key positions at Petrojam Limited served as a corruption enabling mechanism. Impugned recommendations and findings, 21I. Dr. Wheatley was less than truthful and was dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation when he described Sophia Deere as his former technical assistant. The Director of Investigation recommends that this report be referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution pursuant to Section 54(3)(b) of the Integrity Commission Act in relation to whether Dr. Andrew Wheatley, MP, was dishonest in his representations concerning Ms. Sophia Deere and whether he sought to mislead and did mislead the Director of Investigation contrary to Section 48(3) of the Integrity Commission Act, Section 1IE of the Commission of Inquiry Act, and Section 4 of the Perjury Act. 22. It is the contention of the applicant that the Director of Investigation had no reasonable grounds as required by Section 54(3) of the Act to refer the report to. 11. The Director of Corruption Prosecution in relation to the description of the relationship of Ms. Deere to the applicant. He argues that in the absence of reasonable grounds, this was irrational and ultra vires. The respondent argues that this recommendation that the matter be referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution is not final. This court agrees. 23. Unlike the case of Deborah Patrick Gardner v. Mendez and another.
What did you say, sir? The representative argues that, the respondent argues that this recommendation that the matter be referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution is not final. The court agrees. Okay.
Another, supra. This recommendation is not tantamount to a decision, and there is no evidence that it is likely to be followed. In fact, Section 54(3) gives the Director of Corruption Prosecution a discretion to do as he deems appropriate, as submitted by the respondent. The recommendation by the Director of Investigation that the report be referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution has not crystallized into a decision by the Commission, and there has been no initiation of criminal proceedings. It is clear also that this application may be considered premature due to the lack of finality to the recommendation. CR on the application of Verna Wilson and others v. Coventry City Council, 2008, EWHC 2300, a case cited by the respondent. This recommendation is therefore not reviewable. 24. In any event, even if this recommendation amounted to a decision, in that it had some finality, judicial review would in all likelihood be an inappropriate method for its challenge. A decision to prosecute is rarely reviewable. SV Crown Prosecution Service, 2015, EWHC 2868, Admin, 2016, 1 WLR 804. The proper course for the airing of any grouse, if the recommendation is followed, lies in the criminal arena and any contest to the allegations or any charges laid. A decision to prosecute leaves a defendant in criminal proceedings free to challenge the prosecution's case in the usual way through the criminal court, arguing that there is no case to answer or that the decision to prosecute is an abuse of process. 25. Additionally, the court finds little merit in the applicant's contention that there is no basis either in fact or law for the Director of Investigation's conclusion that the applicant was less than truthful and dishonest in his representation to the Director of Investigation when he described Sophia Deere as his former technical. 12. Assistant. While the court makes no pronouncement on whether or not the applicant was in fact truthful, the term less than truthful does not connote complete deceit, but rather that there was not complete forthrightness by the applicant. This is especially so when one considers that the question to the applicant was framed in this way. I am going to ask you now, Dr. Wheatley, some specific names, and it is for you to indicate whether you have any relationship or affiliation and any other relationship, emphasis supplied, with any of the following persons. Sophia Deere. That any other relationship, aspect of that question paints a picture of seeking disclosure of every type of relationship that the applicant has with the persons he was being asked about. Hence, his response, which limited his relationship with Ms. Deere to a professional context, cannot without more be said to have been entirely forthright. Additionally, the applicant was aware prior to going to the interview that the investigation was looking into, inter alia, matters such as nepotism and cronyism, and so had every opportunity to disclose that not only was Ms. Deere his technical assistant, but that she was also the mother of his brother's child.
Oh my God, Alicia, good night. Jamaica, want to hear that? Because I was wondering, this lady named Sophia Deere, what is it about her in this case? Because I've never looked into this case with Dr. Wheatley. So Sophia Deere is the mother of his brother's child, but he told the commission, according to this, that it was strictly a professional relationship. See, it's right here, sir. His response, which limited his relationship to Miss Deere to a professional context, cannot without more his relationship to Miss Deere to a professional context cannot without more, he said, to have been entirely forthright. Additionally, the application was aware prior to going to the interview that the investigation was looking into an inter alia matters such as nepotism, cronyism, and so had every opportunity to disclose that not only was Miss Deere his technical assistant, but that she was also the mother of his brother's child. Unbelievable. So the man knows him go up on an interview with the Integrity Commission looking into nepotism and cronyism, and he failed to mention the full scope of the relationship between him and this lady that is the mother of his brother's child. Come on, man. How can you trust these people? How can you trust these people? And this is the man that took the Integrity Commission to court in 2020. I'm reading the document right here. That's what we're looking into now, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Nepotism and cronyism.
Consequently, the court is not of the view that in respect of the order of certiorari, that this is an arguable ground with a realistic prospect of success. 26-2.
Basically, the court is saying that he's not going to win against the Integrity Commission in this argument. So they say you're not getting a judicial review for that section about honesty and not being as forthcoming. You're not going to win that argument. So they say that's right.
2. Dr. Wheatley's representation that he divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer was insincere. The Director of Investigation in paragraph 9 of the conclusions of the report concluded that A. The Director of Investigation notes the statements provided by Dr. Andrew Wheatley, Mr. Lionel Myrie, and Mr. Oswald Williams regarding the alleged key involvement of the late Councillor Owen Palmer and questions the sincerity of the representations. The Director of Investigation makes its conclusion on the basis that Mr. Owen Palmer is deceased, and as a result, the Director of Investigation is unable to corroborate the following. 13. 2. The representation by Dr. Wheatley that he had divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer. 3. The representation by Mr. Lionel Myrie that the late Councillor Palmer instructed him to forward emails requesting donations from Petrojam Limited on behalf of Homestead Citizens for Action Benevolent Society. And 4. The representation by Mr. Oswald Williams that the late Councillor Palmer verbally contracted him to construct the classrooms at the Homestead Primary School.
So there is no documentation of these things that they say the late Councillor Palmer said. This sound like the FLA situation where a dead man bought ammunition. very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. This is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God.
School. 27. The applicant submitted that the respondent, without providing a reason, rejected the evidence of witnesses that tended to support the assertion of the applicant that the respondent had divested all matters pertaining to donations within his constituency to the late Councillor Palmer. In rejecting this corroborating and unchallenged evidence, the Director of Investigations maliciously and irrationally concluded that the applicant was insincere, or in other words, not being truthful. However, a close reading of paragraph 9 indicates that the Director of Investigations did not say the representations were false or insincere. The Director said he questioned the sincerity of the statements. In other words, he is unsure as to whether they are true or not. It is true that the Director premised this on the absence of Mr. Palmer, he being dead. The context of this being that he was alleged to have been responsible for certain questionable activities, but being dead. He was unavailable for the purpose of corroboration.
Exactly.
The other witnesses do not strictly corroborate the applicant. It is always open to a decision maker to desire corroboration if he is unsure as to the credibility of a particular witness. It would have been desirable for the Director to state reasons as to why he questioned the sincerity of the statement made by the applicant that he had divested dealings pertaining to donations to Mr. Palmer. However, I do not believe that this has injured the applicant, as this conclusion does not negatively alter any of his rights. 14. Or breach any legitimate expectation. It does not injure his reputation, as it does not assert that he was untruthful. It is in fact the applicant's contention in his notice of application that an alleged error of law made by a commission of investigation in its report, which materially affects a matter of substance relating to a finding, is in general reviewable by court proceedings. The reason for exercising that power of review is stronger where that error damages the reputation of any person directly concerned in the investigation. I agree with this position. The applicant has not shown that in relation to this particular heading, he has a realistic prospect of success. 111. The suggestion that the strategic placement of certain individuals in key positions at Petrojam Limited served as a corruption-enabling mechanism. Paragraph 8 of the conclusions of the report is as follows. Based on the documentary evidence provided herein, the Director of Investigation questions whether the strategic placement of certain individuals in key positions at Petrojam Limited served as corruption-enabling mechanisms. A. The strategic placement of certain individuals is evidenced by the appointment of Dr. Perceval Bahadur Singh and Mr. Richard Creary to the board of Petrojam Limited. Dr. Bahadur Singh and Mr. Creary thereafter interviewed Mr. Floyd Grinley for the position as General Manager, Petrojam Limited, a post to which he was selected as the successful candidate. Mr. Floyd Grinley, after being appointed as the General Manager of Petrojam Limited, was a part of the 3-member interview panel which recruited Mrs. Yolanda Ramharak as the Human Resource Development and Administration Manager, the position that oversees the grant of donations by the entity as well as the recruitment of staff. 15. The Director of Investigations has recommended referral to the police in relation to allegations of fraud and to the Financial Investigation Division in relation to some of the donations. He has made findings as to the depletion of Petrojam's budget for that financial year and the exponential increase in donations. He is between certain individuals, the positions they hold, and possible conflict of interest that exists. It is in this context that he questioned whether the strategic placement of certain individuals in key positions at Petrojam Limited served as corruption-enabling mechanisms. This consisted of no decision or finding, nor does it without more affect or injure the applicant. This too has no realistic prospect of success. 28. The failure of the Director of Investigations to recommend exoneration of the applicant by Section 54(5) of the Act. 5. Where the Director of Investigation finds that the matter which gave rise to the investigation does not constitute an act of corruption or any wrongdoing, he shall recommend to the Commission that the person who is the subject matter of the investigation be publicly exonerated of culpability in such manner as the Commission deems fit and the Commission may do so, unless the person concerned has requested the Commission in writing not to do so. 29. The applicant contends that such a recommendation should have been made and seeks judicial review of the decision not to have done so. It is clear that, bearing in mind the terms of reference and the conclusions and recommendations, the Director of Investigations was under no compunction to refer the matter for the applicant to be publicly exonerated. The section refers to where no corruption or wrongdoing. Furthermore, the mandate of the Director of Investigations includes investigating matters of wrongdoing. The Director would not have been in a position to recommend that the applicant be exonerated in circumstances where he has referred the applicant to the Director of Corruptions Prosecutions with a recommendation for the applicant to be charged with perjury in circumstances. 16. Where he believed that he was less than truthful, where he questions the applicant's sincerity in relation to statements made by him that he had divested dealings pertaining to donations to the now deceased Mr. Palmer. To recommend exoneration would fly in the face of logic.
Exactly.
The question of exoneration as to impropriety is clearly addressed by the foregoing statements. In relation to the issue of nepotism, none was found. However, this by itself is insufficient for an exoneration, as the Act speaks of any wrongdoing. There is no realistic prospect of this ground succeeding.
So, Mr. Wheatley wanted, just like what Andrew Holness wanted, he wanted the court to tell the Integrity Commission to exonerate him, to pass his statutory declaration and say, yes, his statutory declaration is declared. And the court cannot do that based off of the facts. So the two Andrew them lose by now and then. Well, Andrew Holness wants still their court, but Andrew Whitney in this case, the exoneration part them ask the court for. This is what the judge is saying. You can't, that now will succeed. There is a area there of doubt where your whole argument is concerned. You can understand, and they are well within their right to say, yo, something fishy about this. Yo,
Succeeding. Delay. 30. Though an extension of time within which to apply for leave for judicial review was included in the orders sought by the applicant, it appears that it was included ex abundanti cautela. The court has noted that the date endorsed on the report is October 2019. It would therefore appear that the recommendations and findings which are being challenged by the applicant were made in October 2019. Thus, any application for judicial review by virtue of Rule 56.61 ought to have been made within 3 months from the date when the grounds first arose. 31. The court, however, takes notice of the fact that exhibited to the first affidavit of Sachin Raichin is letter dated June 30th, 2020, and addressed to the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the President of the Senate, by virtue of which the report was submitted to Parliament in pursuance of Section 54(4) of the Integrity Commission Act. The letter and attachment was submitted to the Clerk of the Houses. Consequent on this, it is apparent that though the grounds first arose in October 2019, until the report was submitted to the Clerk of Houses, it remained an internal document of the respondent. Accordingly, it cannot be envisioned that the applicant would have been aware of the report or its contents prior to it being submitted to the Clerk of House of Parliament, of which he is a member. Notably, the application was filed on July 7th, 2020, some 7 days after the applicant could have reasonably ascertained the contents of the report. 17. Furthermore, there has been no contention by the respondent that the application is barred because of delay. 32. Consequently, the court finds that in accordance with Rule 56.62, there is good reason to extend the time within which the applicant is able to apply for leave to apply for judicial review. Disposition 33, application for leave to seek judicial review denied. 34, no leave is required in respect of application for declarations. 35, no order as to costs.
So Jamaica, he tried to get judicial review on these things, and as you can see the conclusion, application application for leave to seek judicial review denied. No leave is required in respect for application for declaration. No order as to cost. So Mr. Dr. Andrew Wheatley, honestly, the Andrew them, ladies and gentlemen, something going on with the Andrew them. I don't know what's going on with the Andrew them, but something going on with them. They're taking the Integrity Commission to court and then losing miserably. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. I never knew all of those things with the Petrojam thing, you know. I never knew. I'm glad I had an opportunity to go through it with you guys, all 18 pages. Somebody sent it to me and I said, what? So you had to say, we carried him up for 2020 and he lost. That was a big loss. Now he's doing practically literally the same thing now. Bringing them to court again. What do you think is going to happen? How many times has the Integrity Commission lost a case in court? How many times have we seen that? Yeah, it's a young history, but when you do follow the law, it's pretty hard for you to lose in court when you follow the law. Yes? But, I think I have those clips in the clip that I never served. I think I have them. If I don't, that is how here it is. Let me just, yeah, I definitely need to record this. I don't want to not have this up there. Alright, so big up Mr. Sensation.
The PNP would know more about investigations ongoing. I am not aware of investigations that are ongoing. It seems to me that the PNP would know more about investigations ongoing than I do.
And that raises the issue. Do you have confidence in the Integrity Commission?
The Integrity Commission is a necessary agency to tackle corruption in Jamaica. I believe there are changes that are necessary for it to become more effective.
You haven't said yes or no?
I believe there are changes to make it more effective.
So as of this moment, do you have confidence in it?
I believe there are changes that are necessary.
It needs fixing.
Precisely. And this is not just my opinion. I believe.
So,
it needs.
Let me just, I'm going to be putting all those clips together. I'm going to be putting all those clips together and make one video. Of one end, Andrew is praising the Integrity Commission. And then on the other end, you know, they need all of this. They need all this. No, I don't know why I came here. Why did I come here? I wanted to go to Twitter. There's a clip on Twitter that I wanted to play. The level of hypocrisy is real. I need to catch this clip. I need to catch it live. I need to catch this clip live right here on Twitter. See that as I come up, somebody else have it. Everybody have that clip. Lord Jesus.
Have analyzed it correctly. As I said before, the Prime Minister has come to the Prime Minister. US Cable had said that Mr. Polo seems to essentially get away because he has managed to successfully forge alliances with his political superiors. Do you agree with that? Well, they have analyzed it correctly. As I said before, the Prime Minister is complicit in this. She has taken no action. US Cable had said that Mr. Polo seems to essentially get away because he has managed to successfully forge alliances with his political. US Cable had said that Mr. Polo seems to essentially get away because he has managed to successfully forge alliances with his political superiors. Do you agree with that? Well, they have analyzed it correctly. As I said before, the Prime Minister is complicit in this. She has taken no action that would suggest that the minister could not make such future mistakes. He's still a member of her cabinet. What's the opposition going to do about this further? What? The opposition is very strident against this. And, you know, those questions, what will the opposition do? The opposition can't unappoint the minister. the real question is, what is the government going to do about this?
What kind of pressure are
It
you
is a
going to exert?
discretion. I am adding pressure right now as I speak to you. We have written to the Prime Minister to make known our concerns. It is the Prime Minister who must act. And my job is to stimulate public opinion as well, so that the public is not misguided by opinion leaders who seem to be very comfortable with the low standard of governance that is being offered by this government.
What if the Prime Minister does nothing else, doesn't ask for his resignation or anything? What
It reflects the kind of Prime Minister that we have, and the country must decide if we're comfortable with that.
Had you been Prime Minister, what would
my actions would be clear? My actions would be clear and decisive, and I make no bones about that. I believe in a very high standard of governance. He would not be a minister today.
His apology to the Contractor General, saying that if he had said anything that could be construed as a lack of respect for the Contractor General's office, he withdraws those statements and apologizes. What do you make of that?
You know, there are some lines that ministerially you don't cross. And apologies are not good enough to fix them when you have crossed them. He did that with the Contractor General. It shows a mind that does not respect the limits of his authority. And that's dangerous in a minister. And for a Prime Minister to accept that is to place the public's interest in peril as well.
Dr. Vincent Lawrence is now going to be heading that energy enterprise team. What?
When I tell us a cop no kill cock in Jamaica, it's quite serious. And then this particular tweet from Andrew, the PM must act decisively by removing Richard Hassan as state minister in keeping with her commitment to stamp out corruption. Can't make this up. You cannot make this up. And here's another one, another banger.
The Minister of Government was we don't feel comfortable sitting in Parliament with a Minister of Government was openly accepting responsibility, who expresses no regret for the act, where a Commission of Parliament has confirmed that the act is corrupt and has referred it for prosecution, and that Minister shows no sign of wanting to resign, or the Prime Minister showing no signs of moving to dismiss the minister.
With all the sympathy that one can have for support, this is embarrassing, not only to the government as a party, not only the PNP, but to the government, to Jamaica, to all of us. Our heads bow this morning with this sort of reaction.
So we have to take firm action in this regard. It is a dark day for Jamaica, where the Prime Minister is unwilling or afraid to act against a minister in which the public has lost total confidence and in which the institutions of the society are all agree that this person does not enjoy their trust or faith and has breached the confidence that the people have in Mr. Blair. I believe that this has the potential, if it continues, to bring down the entire government.
When I tell you, man, that this man is his own biggest enemy, his mouth. When I tell you, this man is his own biggest enemy, ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not. I wanted to put that on record, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you. March, what are you doing, March? 3 card, man, not true. 3 card, man. Again, I want to encourage you guys to share this live with as much persons as possible. Alright? I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to leave it there. I will be coming on in the morning again. So guys tomorrow morning. Well, later this morning, Monday morning. All right. God bless you, and you guys have yourselves. I know some people that got work, and some people they are work already. Some know it goes. So just share up the live. You know, they will watch the replay and definitely capture the value of this particular live stream. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people did not know about this case with Andrew in the 2020 Integrity Commission asking for judicial review. And the court said no review, sir. The facts are the facts. Mighty God. And it went in detail, but that's pretty much the conclusion. The facts are the facts. They did not, you know. Alright, let me say this too. That happened in 2020. Do you believe the Integrity Commission will operate in any way to give Andrew Willie an opportunity to sue them and win after what he did in 2020 with the Petro thing? Do you think the Integrity Commission dealing with Andrew Willie and within themselves seeing and having suspicions about him not being totally honest about things, do you think that they would have dealt with the situation in a way to leave him any loophole to sue them away? Let me tell you something, man. Mr. Mystic Sensation Byron was on point. Andrew Willie, in my opinion, is going to be charged when this reaches the end of this thing. Legally, he is going to be charged, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think he's going to win nothing against the Integrity Commission based off what we just read and what we looked at. I am now even more confident that he knows Kuku. That's my opinion. But I digress. I leave that with you guys to ponder. You guys have a wonderful morning. And thanks for being here. Bolo VNR, Bolo VNR 2.0, Bolo VNR Clips, and Bolo TV. Pick up on yourself. The word is love. I'm out. Peace. I know some of you will play this song one more time before me left. Oh gosh, man. I have to play this song one more time before me left. I can't leave a place like this. Will I? I have to play this song one more time before me left. Yes.
10 years, you say. 10 long years and look how Jamaica stay. No light, no road, no food, pan we plate. People are suffer while Andrew a live great. You stand up on the platform, smile wide and proud. I tell we about prosperity, but we can't see it all now. Hurricane come through and left the people bare. 6 months later, them still out there, asleep under the air. Their JLP friends them build high rise, road still full of wood. House pocket yo! Hold security now! 10 years, you say. 10 long years and look how Jamaica stay. No light, no road, no food, pan we play. People are suffer while Andrew a live great. You stand up on the platform, smile wide and proud. I tell we about prosperity, but we can't see it all now. Hurricane come through and left the people bare. 6 months later, them still out there, asleep under the air. Their JLP friends them build high rise, road still full of wood. House pocket to a field while the nation lose its soul. Hospital overflow, picnic can't get bed. School roof a leak, but you and Juliet well fed. You always have excuse, always pass the blame. Every time something wrong, it never go in your name. Jamaica a drown and you claim you're unclean. Biggest actor in our politics we ever see. Holness, time to go. The people we say no. 10 years and we can't take no more. You know you're us. We are not on the door. Holness, time to go. From Kingston to Lebanon, the people say so. road, we plan food price reach the sky. You bring in the poverty while your own people cry. We born you, we grow you, we bleed for this land. But Andrew at the top won't extend the man. You talk about vision, you talk about plan. But 10 years later we still can't understand. Corruption report London, nobody charge. The people pocket small but the scandal them large. Who's crack up parish council bro? Country suffocating done and it just work. And when we revise the call we political. But the truth is the truth and the truth is biblical. Time to go the people. We say no. 10 years and we can't take no more, you know hear us. We are not on the door. Time to go. From Kingston to Negri, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness our time to go. We no want no hype, we no want no speech. We want action, no not the lies you preach. Hurricane victims still under tarpaulin. Prime Minister fly gone foreign. Your JLP cabinet full, but the people COVID empty. Oh, you live so large when we live in so scanty. Not with fists, not with fire, but we voice them rising higher and higher. From every parish, every yard, every gate, Jamaica speaking, and I'm not too late. Time to go, the people. We say no, 10 years and we can't take no more, you know, hear us. We are not on the door. Time to go. From Kingston to Negri, the people say so. We tired, we hungry, we done with the show. Holness our time to go. This one is for every Jamaican. What can't afford feet. We are sleep on cardboard. We are drive on broken road. The people don't forget. The people don't forgive. Enough is enough. Jamaicans will live.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a brother Bolo here, and we got a quick reaction because you know we have to get the word from the man of God, Pastor Jeff Shut the word. See what's going on in this one, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you got the word and a verse on TikTok and follow the page, alright?
You are diabetic. You may end up depending on their health ill because you are diabetic. You may end up depending on their health system for medication and so on. They don't want you. You are recovering from a stroke, although you are not seen, it's not being shown. They will know. You took the rat poison called the COVID-19 vaccine. They'll know because your medical record would reveal that. And all the other things. And so long before you even meet one of their agents, if ever, they have already